Discover the 13 incredible health transformations for seniors over 60. Eat pumpkin seeds daily. Martha stared at the blaring headline on her laptop screen, the words swirling around like a tempest in her mind. The isolation of the past few years felt suffocating, each tick of the clock amplifying the silence in her family home. In the heart of Maplewood, this once vibrant abode now seemed to echo her loneliness, the joyful laughter of her children, now grown and busy with their own lives, a distant memory. Each family milestone celebrated within these walls holidays. Birthdays had become bittersweet, the warmth replaced by an eerie stillness that wrapped around her like a clammy blanket. When her eyes landed on pumpkin seeds, a flicker of hope ignited within her. Maybe these tiny seeds could revive her energy, breathe life back into her days overshadowed by silence. She began to weave them into her morning oatmeal and afternoon salads, curious if these little morsels possessed the miraculous benefits promised online. But with each spoonful, a nagging doubt crystallized within her. What if she was chasing an illusion? What if these fleeting tastes of vitality would be nothing more than a vain attempt to reawaken the ghost of her younger self? Frustration bubbled inside as new energy did swirl within her. The daily ritual of measuring out pumpkin seeds felt like a declaration, a commitment to embrace a refreshed identity. Yet, amid the rush of positive energy, shadows loomed. Was this self-invention merely an escape from the reality she found herself in? As Martha peeled back the layers of her transformation, a familiar unease spiraled through her being. How long could she cling to this version of independence, cloaked in newfound health, without it unraveling? Before she could spiral deeper into thought, her heart leaped as Jake and Emily announced their visit for dinner. The prospect of family brought warmth, yet the undercurrent of tension was palpable. She wondered if they would notice her changes, or would they only see the worry lines etched deeper upon her face. As they sat down to a home-cooked meal laden with comforting nostalgia, their eyes widened at Martha's vibrant appearance. Fear flickered behind their smiles, concern mingled with admiration. "Mom, we're really glad to see you looking so well," Jake said, though his voice trembled with restraint. "But are you sure you're managing everything all right? You've always been so independent yet." Martha felt the familiar sting of frustration. "Why can't you see this as my choice? I'm finding joy in taking charge of my health." Her voice rose, unleashing years of suppressed defensiveness. The turbulence of thoughts thundered past as she argued for autonomy, her heart racing as she faced their expressions of concern. Desperation fueled her words. She questioned how they could think she was veering towards dependency when, in fact, she fought for self-empowerment. In the heat of the argument, the tension snapped like a tight string, revelations tumbling forth from all sides, raw and unrefined. Their fears collided with her determination as the very foundation of family shifted. They hovered over a precipice of understanding, yet remained shackled by a looming uncertainty. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let us continue. As the words hung in the air, capacity for understanding twisted back into doubt. The realization that her health had been a bold statement of independence was now overshadowed by the essence of vulnerability her children feared. Would she manage to keep this newfound resilience intact while they hovered over her, their frantic love manifesting into crosshairs of control? Martha's spirit felt the growing weight of their worries, a suffocating blanket within her own home. The dinner plates cooled as the tension simmered, fragile yet potent, each shared glance attempting to bridge a rift of understanding that felt more distant than ever. In that painful silence, with hope dangling precariously in the balance, Martha understood she stood at a crossroads. Could she navigate this delicate dance between independence and their care? Would she shatter their fears, or would they fracture her will? The answer eluded her, thick with uncertainty, leaving a palpable ache that settled in the pit of her stomach, an ache that would not fade easily. Martha awoke the next morning with a renewed sense of determination coursing through her. The remnants of the previous evening's confrontation still lingered, casting shadows over her breakfast plans. Yet, as she prepared her oatmeal, the familiar act of sprinkling pumpkin seeds into the mix felt imbued with purpose. She was no longer merely a vessel of survival. She was becoming the architect of her own revitalization. With each bite, she mulled over the conversation she and her children had shared. It was more than a dispute. It was a revelation of fears masked as love, a reminder that every gesture was layered with intention. She pondered their perspective, trying to understand if their worry stemmed from a place of love or a projection of their insecurities about aging. Body tensing at the thought, she was caught in a web of self-reflection. Was her vitality truly so frightening? Determined to show her children this transformation was real, Martha set out to take action beyond dietary adjustments. The upcoming weekend brought the prospect of a community class at the local wellness center, a class on Tai Chi designed for seniors. The idea flashed in her mind like a beacon of light. What better way to embrace both physical and emotional renewal than immersing herself in something new? But that little voice of doubt crawled back, questioning her sensibilities. Would she embarrass herself among younger participants? The image of her clumsy movements sent an icy chill of shame through her. Yet she quickly brushed it aside, reminding herself that this journey was not about her past abilities but about her present growth. Once enrolled, Martha arrived at the wellness center, heart pounding as she pushed through the glass doors. The space buzzed with energy, the gentle chatter of participants wrapped around her. Despite an initial wave of trepidation, she found herself drawn to the shared enthusiasm of older adults seeking rejuvenation. The class began, and she followed the instructor's fluid movements, each sway of her arms liberating her from the remnants of doubt. Slowly, the choreography of Tai Chi enveloped her, offering more than mere physical exercise. It instilled a profound sense of tranquility. In those moments, she felt as if she were soaring over the frightening precipice of dependency, breathing in a new identity crafted through deliberate practice and mindfulness. After the class, Martha exchanged pleasantries with several participants, feeling the warmth of camaraderie. Each conversation gradually stitched together a sense of belonging, easing the ghostly silence of her home that had suffocated her for so long. The laughter shared with newfound acquaintances rekindled small embers of hope, challenging the notion that she was a relic of the past. Yet, as she returned home, invigorated yet wary, an edge of concern gnawed at her. Would Jake and Emily understand? Would they recognize this new path as a testament to her strength rather than an indication of fragility? The anxiety wrapped around her heart like a vine, squeezing tighter with every thought. As the days passed, she prepared for their next visit, contemplating how to convey her evolution to her children. The seeds of fear she had planted were beginning to bloom, but so were the flowers of newfound confidence. Could she navigate this conversation delicately enough to reveal her heart without tearing apart the fabric of their concern? With a mind racing and a heart heavy with anticipation, Martha realized the burden of her journey didn't rest solely upon her. It demanded honesty, vulnerability, and an acknowledgement of the uncharted terrain they would need to explore together. Could embracing her truth also create a pathway for her children to understand that her independence was not a loss of love, but an expression of it? She inhaled deeply, preparing to confront not just her children's fears, but her own. The moment of reckoning loomed ahead. Could she entwine love with autonomy, crafting a narrative that honored them all? In the tension of that thought, a new challenge awaited, one that would test the foundations of her resolve. Martha awoke the next day, the sun pouring into her kitchen as if to illuminate the fledgling confidence within her. The confrontation with her children sat heavy in her mind, yet the new experiences of Tai Chi were transforming her apprehension into a newfound resolve. She moved through her morning routine with an energy that felt foreign, but in a good way, as if her body was waking up from years of slumber. Despite that vigor, she knew she had to confront her reservations. How could she simply abandon the ingrained notion that her children needed to protect her? She took several deep breaths while preparing her breakfast. The usual clattering of pots felt somehow liberating now. She savored her oatmeal, its warmth a metaphor for the self-acceptance she yearned to nurture. Later, A thought captured her attention. What if she invited Jake and Emily to join her in a Tai Chi class? It could bridge the gap between her emerging independence and their fears. However, hesitation crept in. Would they see it as a diminishment, another attempt to assuage their guardedness about her age? Would they dismiss her initiative as simply naive? Yet, there was no time to surrender to those thoughts. Today was the day she would tell them about her experience, about the way her body felt like a canvas now, open to new strokes of paint rather than a mere relic of the past. She picked up her phone, fingers trembling slightly, and typed out a message inviting them to dinner. That evening, as the clock ticked closer to their arrival, Martha felt an exhilarating mixture of excitement and trepidation. She prepared dinner with her usual meticulousness, but this time, it was infused with the kind of energy that had become abundant in her life. The clinking of cutlery echoed her racing thoughts. Images of them seated around the table filled her mind. How would they react to her growing vitality? When Jake and Emily arrived, the warmth of the house enveloped them, but Martha quickly sensed a shift in mood. Their smiles were tinged with concern, eyes scrutinizing her every move. As they sat, Martha used the meal's familiar cadence to launch the conversation into deeper waters. She spoke about the class, the movements that danced with life, and how they stirred something long dormant within her. Their response was immediate, panic flickering across their faces. Jake, ever protective, questioned whether it was wise, recalling times when their grandmother had struggled with physical activities. Emily's hand went to her face, an unspoken fear rising between them, like a barrier threatening to keep her from fully communicating her experience. The conversation veered into a turbulent sea of emotions. Martha felt stabs of irritation fused with understanding. They were frightened by the changes in her life. How could she express that this journey was not merely about physical health, but reclaiming her spirit? Their anxieties felt suffocating, lending weight to the narrative of weakness. "Mom, we just worry," Emily finally said, her voice quivering. "What if something happens?" Martha paused, the question echoing in her mind. What if something did happen? Wasn't that the very essence of living? The thought invigorated her, pushing her voice through the fog of doubt. "Living through worry means I'd never really be alive," she replied, the strength in her voice a revelation even to herself. Each word wove the fabric of her heart into the conversation, binding love with a need for autonomy. Silence fell as her children processed her perspective, their expressions a tumultuous blend of fear and confusion. She could feel the ground beneath their relationship shifting. This moment was just as pivotal for them as it was for her. Amidst the uncertainty, she already felt the ground of her resolve shoring up a new foundation. They might not see the entire picture yet, but perhaps they did not have to. Her evolution was her own, and still, she wanted them in that space. As dinner wound down, Martha took a breath, the air thick with tension and possibility, realization, dawning upon her that this was only the beginning. Perhaps they needed time to confront their fears and set down their expectations. The nagging question of whether love would hold them tightly or push them away lingered. Could the seeds of connection blossom amid fear and uncertainty, cultivating the mutual understanding she craved? In that quiet moment of contemplation, the answer would still unfold, suggesting that this dialogue was just the genesis of larger transformations yet to come. Would they collectively find a way to navigate through the complexities together, or would apprehension reign victorious in the narrative of their lives? Martha woke the next morning, a renewed sense of purpose sweeping through her. The tensions of the previous evening hovered like a lingering fog, but she refused to let them overshadow her. Instead, she focused on the strength that was becoming part of her daily life, a welcome contrast to her earlier insecurities. Tai Chi had provided her with more than just physical movement. It was as if she was learning to dance with herself, fluid, dynamic, and alive. As she moved through her morning routine, a quiet resilience filled her actions. The kettle whistled, snapping her out of her reverie. Pouring the water over her tea leaves, she recalled her children's concerned faces. Their feelings were rooted in love, yet she couldn't shake the notion that they underestimated her potential. Perhaps it was time to demonstrate that her journey was one of rediscovery, not depletion. With steely determination, Martha planned her approach for the day. She caught herself hesitating again. Was she doing this for her own sake, or to quiet their fears? The answer eluded her for a moment, but conviction soon replaced doubt. She was not their fragile mother, she was a vital individual reclaiming her life. The notion sparked another idea. What if she took them to her next Tai Chi class? Wouldn't that allow them to see her embodying strength firsthand? But then the specter of their fears returned. What if they resented it? What if they believed that this newfound vigor was just a mirage, a temporary escape that would culminate in disappointment? Clenching her fists, Martha recognized the weight of those unspoken resentments. She would confront them head-on. After all, if she could stand up for herself, what was to stop her from advocating for a deeper understanding in her family? She decided to write a letter to Jake and Emily, not as an explanation, but as a heartfelt invitation to witness her transformation. With each word, she poured her hopes and aspirations onto the page, articulating her desires not only for herself, but for her relationship with them. The act of writing became a personal release, as she crafted sentences that felt like small victories against herself, against the narrative she had previously accepted. Later that afternoon, fueled by her fresh resolve, she found herself at the local park, a decision made not just for Tai Chi, but for the purpose of centralizing her focus. The gentle swaying of branches and rustle of leaves joined her in her movements. Feeling the sun warm her skin, she closed her eyes, sinking deeper into the rhythm of her breath, allowing the energy to flow through her. As she navigated the movements, she discovered an array of hidden strengths. Her core tightened in ways she had never recognized, her stability a contrast against the self-doubt that had once defined her. Each graceful shift felt like a triumph, a quiet rebellion against the fears she had internalized for decades. Yet as she embraced this personal victory, a familiar voice crept in. This feeling of elation was precarious. Would her children choose to engage with her transformation, or would they remain shackled by their fears? With renewed energy, she swallowed hard and decided to give them the letter. Would they respond with understanding, or would they continue to grapple with their perception of her limitations? As dusk approached, the shadows stretched longer, wrapping the world in a calm embrace. Her phone buzzed. Jake's name illuminated the screen. The moment had arrived. This was where she would find out if they could meet her halfway as she took steps toward reclaiming her place, not just as their mother, but as their equal. She hesitated for only a moment before tapping the screen. The waiting game began, but within the suspense brewed a sense of empowerment. Whether their validation was forthcoming or not, she was moving in her new direction. Still, uncertainty beckoned. Would this letter unlock an understanding between them, or would it entrench their fears even further? The questions loomed larger than life, setting the stage for the unfolding of her journey. Martha felt her heart pound as she stared at the glowing screen, Jake's name burning into her consciousness like a beacon. There was a split second of exhilaration, then a heavy pulse of anxiety. What could he possibly say? She took a deep breath, attempting to steady herself. Courage had accompanied her this far. It would need to carry her through whatever came next. The silence, both teasing and torturous, gripped her. In that moment, thoughts flashed. What if he dismissed her letter? What if he expressed concern that was even more profound, deeper than she anticipated? These seemingly inconsequential moments proliferated in her mind until she felt suffocated by them. Determined to break the cycle of negativity, she grabbed her notebook, the pages stained with the ink of her burgeoning resolve. It had become her confidant, a record of her thoughts as she navigated this new terrain of self-discovery. Ideas danced in her mind. She would write down her reflections, clear her head. Scribbling furiously, she let her pen guide her through the labyrinth of emotions swirling within. "I'm not just their mother," she wrote. "I'm a person in my own right, capable of evolving." Each sentence felt like an affirmation, clearing away remnants of frailty that had haunted her for years. The sunlight creeping through her window reminded her of the warmth that awaited her on the Tai Chi field. Having put her thoughts into words, she felt a call to action, a need to transform the abstract into tangible reality. It was there, in that park, she would challenge herself further, not just in graceful movement, but also in confronting her emotions. Determined to break free from the suffocating grip of worry, she strode towards the park. Today, she would bring a heightened intensity to her Tai Chi practice, inviting the essence of her optimistic feelings into every motion. Each fluid posture represented a step toward embracing her newfound identity, and she wanted to do more than just explore it, she wanted to embody it. As she found her familiar spot beneath the oak trees, the atmosphere buzzed with life. Others were present, practicing their own forms of movement or simply enjoying the day. A small audience hovered at the edges of her awareness. Would they see her? A sliver of doubt gnawed at her, but she pushed it aside. Today was not about them. It was about her. Martha closed her eyes and began her routine, deep breaths pushing her spirit up to meet the sky. With every strike of her foot against the ground, she felt a strong connection between herself and the earth, her past and future. The movements morphed from choreographed gestures to confident declarations. This was her body, her strength, her story. But as she twirled and shifted, the lingering question crept back: could her children truly appreciate the depths of her journey? It was a knot of tension that twisted with the rhythm of her movements. She had envisioned them side by side in the park, sharing this moment, sharing her growth. Yet it felt like a fantasy. Between breaths, she realized she had been defining her path too narrowly. This journey was not just for them to witness. It was a call to inspire her own transformation. She was stepping beyond roles defined by others, breaking the boundaries of expectation, embracing her evolution without needing validation from outside forces. But would her children embrace this growth with her? The thought cut through her concentration, a reminder of the conversations yet to come. Finishing her routine, Martha opened her eyes to the sunset illuminating the sky, a powerful reflection of the journey she had undertaken. She could feel a shift within herself, but clarity was elusive. It was time she would confront Jake and Emily, navigate the inevitable discomfort, and establish their relationship anew. As she walked home, determination wrapped around her like a comforting shawl. A new challenge loomed, one that held the promise of deeper connection or further division. Would they be willing to redefine their understanding of their mother? The thought stung with both hope and apprehension. Tomorrow would bring the moment she had been building towards. But for now, the horizon beckoned her to rest, her heart racing with anticipation. Would the truth of her growth resonate within her family, or would it leave them fractured in fear? The unresolved questions danced in her mind, igniting a tension she could no longer ignore. Martha awoke the next morning, her heart still pounding from the anticipation of what lay ahead. The sun filtered softly through the curtains, casting a golden hue across her bedroom. She could feel the overnight transformation still lingering within, a blending of excitement and trepidation. Today was the day she faced Jake and Emily, the moment she had prepared for both mentally and emotionally. She needed to center herself. Breakfast became a grounding ritual, pouring her coffee, toasting whole grain bread. As she spread the almond butter, the simple act of nourishment reminded her of the importance of self-care. She savored the flavors, allowing each bite to bolster her resolve. After years of neglecting her own needs, every moment spent nurturing herself resonated with significance. Feeling energized yet anxious, Martha stepped onto her balcony. The community below pulsed with early morning life. She embraced the serenity before the storm. Her thoughts drifted to her children, how they would react to her growth, her transformation. Doubt threaded through her mind. Would they see her as a stranger or as the mother they loved? With a steadiness she gathered from her Tai Chi practice, Martha opened her notebook. Today, she would not merely jot down thoughts. She would outline her conversation with clarity. What she wanted to say was crucial. Her pen glided across the page, forming the center of her intent. "I am more than your mother," she wrote. "I am also Martha, resilient, evolving, and fully alive." These weren't just words. They were declarations she needed to live by. After closing the notebook, she dressed thoughtfully, choosing a vibrant blouse that matched her newfound energy. The color felt like armor. It would make her feel both strong and seen. Standing before the mirror, she practiced her affirmations aloud. "I am worthy of love and respect. My journey matters." Each syllable built a bridge from her heart to her voice, preparing her to articulate her truth. As she arrived home, Martha felt time stretch and constrict, the moments before the confrontation swirling like leaves in the wind. Jake was sprawled on the couch, immersed in his game. Emily was buried in her phone, the world beyond its screen seemingly irrelevant. Martha felt a flicker of isolation, The gap between them felt vast. "Can we talk?" she said, her voice steadier than she felt, pulling their attention. Jake paused the game, leaning forward, eyes narrowed with curiosity. Emily looked up, her brows knitted in confusion. In these few precious seconds, Martha's heart raced. Would they shut her out, or hear her out? She swallowed the lump in her throat and opened the notebook, drawing a calming breath. "I've been doing a lot of thinking," she began, her words finding clarity as she spoke. Each revelation poured from her, unearthing buried feelings she had long suppressed. She described her Tai Chi practice, the awakening she had experienced, the connection to herself, the daily affirmations of growth. The unfolding of her truth felt liberating, yet as she continued, she sensed the weight of their silence. The expectations and fears they held were tangible, swirling around the small room. Would they understand? Jake's expression was inscrutable, while Emily shifted nervously, biting her lip. A flush of doubt washed over her. Had she exposed too much too soon? All the growth she envisioned now felt fragile, precarious like a freshly sprouted seed vulnerable to a passing storm. Martha needed to know if her vulnerability would resonate or be met with skepticism. She pressed on, sensing the precariousness of the moment. "I want us to redefine what it means to be a family. I want us to grow together." Time hung in the air, tension swelling as she awaited their response. But they remained silent, leaving her words to echo in the room. Frustration knotted within her. Had she miscalculated? Jake finally cleared his throat, an unreadable expression etched across his face. "What do you mean?" he asked, a hint of caution tempering his tone. Martha's heart raced anew. This wasn't he over. This was just the beginning of a broader conversation, an opportunity to confront their misunderstandings. She steeled herself, ready to delve deeper into the definition of family that sparkled like a distant star, promising but unclear. In that charged air, beneath the weight of uncertainty, she realized the path to understanding had only just begun. Would they walk it together, or retreat into familiar shadows? The answer spun wildly in her mind, igniting a resolve to explore deeper truths, no matter how painful they might be. Martha held her breath as she studied their expressions, her heart pounding to the rhythm of uncertainty. Jake's brow furrowed with confusion, while Emily glanced back and forth, unsure of how to process the radical shift happening before her. The silence that hung between them felt suffocating, a simmering tension demanding resolution but offering no relief. "Jake, Emily," Martha said, her voice growing steadier as she took the plunge deeper into her thoughts. "What I mean is, I want us to communicate openly and honestly. There has been so much left unspoken in our family, and I can't pretend it doesn't affect us anymore." Each word was a small stone cast into a pond, rippling outward with intention. Jake finally blinked, a slight opening in his armor of indifference. "What is the big deal? Families fight. It's normal." "Normal?" Martha challenged, surprised at how quickly her frustration flared. "Is it normal to not talk about how we feel? To just let misunderstandings pile up until they become walls between us?" She could see the flicker of resistance in Jake's eyes, the battle between ingrained beliefs and new realities. Taking a step closer, she softened her tone. "I know it's been hard. I've contributed to that distance, too. But we can change. We don't have to accept what has been. We can build something different, something healthier together." Emily shifted again, her phone forgotten. "What do you want to change exactly?" she asked, curiosity blending with skepticism. Martha breathed a sigh of relief and recognized the opening as an invitation. "I want us to start expressing our feelings, even if it's uncomfortable. I want us to share our goals and dreams, to support one another rather than isolate ourselves." Her mind raced, piecing together the scattered fragments of everything she had learned. "Like when I practiced Tai Chi, I've learned the importance of balance, and I believe our family can find that balance too. But it starts with being vulnerable." "Vulnerable?" Jake said, voice thick with ice. "You mean like admitting our weaknesses?" "Exactly," she replied, surprised at how liberating her honesty felt. "It's not about weakness. It's about embracing our whole selves, the good and the bad. When we can share our fears and dreams, we take the first step towards growth. I want to know what you both think and feel, openly." Jake shook his head, the thoughts visibly churning beneath the surface. I just don't get why we need to change things that have been this way for so long. What if it all falls apart? Martha felt a spike of determination, fueled by the flicker of connection she hoped to ignite. But what if it falls into place? What if we become stronger? I want to explore what that looks like, rather than be stuck in a loop of unspoken resentment. In that moment, she realized she was painting a picture of hope, a vibrant canvas of possibility they could explore together. Their family did not have to remain a stagnant affair of grudges held silently. Emily leaned forward, caught in the sincerity of the conversation. Okay, so what is step one? Gauging their responses, Martha felt a cautious optimism unfurl within her. Let us start with one simple practice. Every evening, let us share one thing we're proud of and one thing we wish could be different. Jake's face tightened momentarily, but then a flicker of intrigue began to shine through as he considered it. I guess that doesn't sound too bad. Even if it's awkward? Emily added, an eyebrow raised. Yes, even if it's awkward, Martha laughed lightly, her heart soaring at this small win. Breathless with possibility, she realized that the path ahead wouldn't be easy. But every step taken, every awkward moment shared would cultivate the family dynamic she longed for. As they continued to discuss their imperfect future, a new tension brewed inside Martha, one rooted in anticipation rather than fear. She was eager and anxious to explore this new territory of family connection, yet, deep down, shadows of doubt still lingered. Would they be able to navigate through discomfort without retreating? This raw vulnerability ignited something within Martha, a fierce resolve to not shy away from hard conversations. Little did they know, bigger obstacles loomed just beyond the horizon, ready to test their fragile progress. Would they reckon with the truths hidden in the past, or would it unravel everything they had just begun to stitch together? The first evening of their new practice arrived with an undercurrent of tension that could be felt in the air. Martha watched as Jake and Emily settled into the living room, the usual comfort of their surroundings now tainted by the weight of expectation. Each of them held a mix of apprehension and curiosity. Dishes sat half-finished from dinner. The unspoken feelings had gathered like dust, ready to be swept away or stirred up. Martha took a deep breath, determined not to let discomfort derail their progress. Okay, let us start, she suggested, her voice steady despite the flutter in her chest. Who wants to go first? Emily shifted in her seat. I'll go. I'm proud that I finally decided to start painting again. It felt good to pick up a brush. The moment seemed to hang in the air, fragile but lit with the spark of connection. That's great. Martha encouraged, her heart swelling with pride. And is there something you wish could be different? Emily hesitated, her brow knitting together in thought. I guess I wish I could be more honest with you guys about what I want for my future. It's just hard to talk about. The sincerity in Emily's admission struck a chord in Martha. You're already being honest, and that's brave, she replied, feeling an inkling of admiration for her daughter's willingness to express vulnerability. With its authenticity, the statement echoed throughout the room, stirring the atmosphere. Jake folded his arms, but Martha sensed a subtle softening in his stance. Fine. I'm proud of maintaining my GPA through school, he started, each word measured, almost cautious. But I wish we could all just chill out more and not make everything so dramatic. Martha's smile faltered but quickly morphed into understanding. I get that. You have a lot on your plate. It's okay to want less tension. But this process, however uncomfortable, can help us make a change. Jake nodded, though his eyes held skepticism. She could almost see him wrestling with a mix of accepting this change while wanting to protect the normality he found himself clinging to. Martha felt the tension twist within her, a deep concern for how much the family values and patterns would be put through the ringer. Martha decided to take the plunge herself. I'm proud that I have been practicing Tai Chi consistently, but I wish I had let go of my judgments and frustrations about your father and our past sooner. Their reactions were like ripples through a still pond. Jake's brow furrowed deeper. Emily shifted her focus back to Martha, and a heavy silence reigned. Those words echoed in the room, reverberating with years of unspoken conflict and disappointment. But there was a flicker of hope, a sense of something new stirring beneath the surface. Each word spoken felt like unearthing a hidden gem buried under layers of discontent. They were breaking their silence, and each admission seemed to tilt the fragile balance toward a newfound connection. However, the unease still gripped Martha. What lay behind the shadows of their revelations? Had this practice created more questions than it answered, or was it a bridge to deeper truths, ones that could lead them further apart or finally connect them? As the evening wore on, an emerging urgency began to replace anticipation. The cycle of honesty felt exhilarating yet daunting. Martha's thoughts raced with a haunting realization. This was only the beginning. With every moment of vulnerability came the risk of confrontation, a territory none of them were prepared to navigate fully. And yet, deep down, she knew that growth lurked in the discomfort of those moments. They were threading together a new tapestry of understanding, a framework, albeit fragile, through which past wounds could be healed, or perhaps inflamed. As the night faded, Martha felt an unsettling pull toward the unknown. How would they handle bigger confrontations? Would they honor the truths revealed, or allow their fears to push them back into silence? The next day loomed ahead, marked by a shared commitment but haunted by the ghosts of their family history. Would they rise to face the truths that threatened to topple their newfound foundation, or crumble before the weight of their revelations? The next morning arrived with a heavy haze that seemed to mirror the tension lingering in the house. Martha found herself awake before dawn, the quiet stillness amplifying her rippling worries. She sat on the edge of her bed, mind racing as she grasped the magnitude of their shared commitment. The sun peeked through the curtains, illuminating dust motes suspended in the air, just like their unexpressed feelings. She let out a shaky breath, realizing this wasn't just a family practice to share sentiments, it was a reckoning. Martha slipped into her jogging shoes and stepped outside for an early run, seeking the clarity that movement often brought her. As her feet pounded against the pavement, she felt the strain in her muscles releasing, but the mental pressure only intensified. Would Jake and Emily be ready to strip away their defenses today? Would they challenge the facade they carefully maintained? Rounding the block, a thought struck her. Perhaps confronting her own fears was the first step in empowering them. Back home, she decided to pull out the family photo albums, intending to lay bare some memories they could bond over. Each photograph was laden with moments of joy, laughter, and the inevitable shifts toward complexity. As she flipped through the pages, nostalgia washed over her, but with it came the regrets that twisted her stomach in knots. When Emily shuffled into the kitchen, bleary-eyed, Martha greeted her with a gentle smile. "How about we look through some old photos today?" Emily perked up, her curiosity piqued. "Sure, that sounds fun." But Martha noticed the slight hesitation in her posture. Indicative of a hidden fear, was she stalling for a reason? Jake soon joined, his demeanor still wrapped in the protective armor of skepticism. But as the three sat down together, the energy shifted palpably. The photographs sparked conversations that flowed easier than expected. Laughter erupted at memories of ridiculous dance moves, epic family vacations, and pixelated snapshots of birthdays past. Yet within the laughter, Martha felt a knot tighten in her stomach as the thread of honest dialogue lingered beneath the surface, waiting for them to grasp it. Recognizing that they were merely scratching the surface, she took a deep breath and seized the moment. "I want to share something, a moment from these photos that made me question myself." Jake's brow furrowed, and Emily shifted, her eyes piercing straight through Martha. "What do you mean?" Jake shot back, an edge sharpening his tone. Martha gathered her thoughts, wading through vulnerability. "When I look back at this photo of your father and me on our wedding day, it reminds me of the hope we had for the future. But with every year that has passed, I've struggled with feelings of disappointment and bitterness. I feared letting those feelings out, thinking they would hurt you." The silence that followed was palpable, a stark contrast to the laughter that had filled the room moments before. Jake's lips tightened in deep contemplation, and Emily's gaze faltered, uncertainty flickering across her expression. Then, as if compelled to respond, Jake leaned forward. "Why didn't you just tell us? We could have helped." Martha's heart raced. She expected a reaction, perhaps defensiveness, but this offer of support stirred something profound within her. "I didn't know how to communicate it without feeling like I was burdening both of you," she confessed, her voice a whisper. "Maybe that's your hesitation, feeling like you'd be a burden to us," Emily observed, her tone softening as understanding dawned. "We want to help, Mom, but you have to let us in." Martha marveled at Emily's words. amplified by a sense of authority in her daughter's voice. Could it be that she had underestimated her children's capacity for empathy? A surge of realization coursed through her. This was a pivotal moment of transformation, not only for herself, but for them both. With a newfound resolve, Martha made a decision. Then let us promise to keep each other accountable. Today, let us open up about our biggest regrets and dreams. No more silence. The air crackled with electricity, the unspoken thoughts swirling around them like a tempest waiting to gain momentum. All that lay ahead felt equal parts terrifying and exhilarating, the clarity she longed for, just out of reach. Yet, she sensed the churning undercurrent of trust beginning to take root. What would they uncover when they shattered the restraints of their fears? Would they embrace the truths they discovered, or cower behind the walls they had built? As Martha stared into their eyes, she realized the next conversation would be crucial. It could either heal old wounds or awaken the fissures buried deep within their relationship. With her heart racing, she declared, "Okay then, who's willing to dive deeper today?" The air was thick with anticipation and unspoken fears, yet Martha felt a flicker of hope sparking within her. This was the opportunity she had been yearning for, a chance to shatter the suffocating silence that had enveloped their family for far too long. Jake and Emily exchanged uncertain glances, the weight of their initial conversations hanging in the air like a delicate glass sculpture, precariously balanced. Martha took a deep breath. "I'll go first," she announced, her voice steady and resolute. "When I look back at the family photos, I see so many happy moments. But I also see times when I felt lost, like I was carrying a burden alone, the weight of unrealized dreams and disappointment. There has been a lot I haven't said, feelings I tucked away thinking it would protect you both." Their faces softened, and for the first time, she felt she was breaking through to them. Jake's brow furrowed in thought, and Emily's previously uncertain expression gave way to concern. "Why didn't you just talk to us about it?" Jake asked, genuine curiosity lacing his tone. "I didn't want to seem weak or like I was complaining. I thought it would only add to your worries," Martha replied, her vulnerability cracking open like an egg, spilling the contents of her heart onto the table. "But now I realize that sharing these struggles could have strengthened us. I don't want any more hidden burdens. I want to be whole with you." With the walls beginning to crumble, Martha felt a rush of empowerment. "I want us to share our regrets and dreams, even the uncomfortable ones. This is how we grow as a family." Martha glanced at Emily, who was softly biting her lip in contemplation. "I can go next," she said. "Looking at these photos reminds me of the pressure I've put on myself to succeed and meet expectations. Those school achievements look proud and polished. But inside, I've grappled with self-doubt. I often feel like whatever successes I've earned aren't truly mine. They're just to prove something to the world and to you." The words poured forth, unfiltered and raw. Martha could see the weight of Emily's admission settling into Jake's expression, prompting him to reassess how he viewed their family dynamics. "Mom, I never thought of it that way," Jake admitted cautiously. "I think I put pressure on you too. Like I would add to whatever burden you were already carrying." Martha's heart expanded with a nuanced empathy for her son. This was significant. He was beginning to recognize the layers of complexity in their relationship. "Just by saying that, you've shown me how much you care," she reassured him. "None of us need to carry our burdens alone anymore." A silence lingered after Emily's admission, the kind that held promise and danger in equal amounts. Then Jake took the plunge. "All right, since we're spilling guts, here goes. I'm proud of my grades, but I wish I could be more honest about how I feel at home. It's felt chaotic, like I'm fighting this constant battle of expectations. Like, I can't even enjoy things without that pressure haunting me." Martha saw the tension ease in Jake's shoulders as the truth left his lips, realizing they were weaving an open dialogue. It felt explosive, liberating, a massive relief for everyone involved. "Jake, I had no idea you felt that way. I wish I'd understood sooner," Martha said, warmth filling her tone. "This is liberating, like a breath we've all been holding onto for too long." As they shared their regrets within the framework of love, a quiet confidence blossomed in Martha. They were beginning to acknowledge their vulnerabilities, reshaping the family unit into something resilient, allowing compassion to take hold of the dialogue. Feeling the energy shift, she encouraged the next step. Let us commit to one honest practice every week, just like this. No more walls, open conversations, embracing the messiness. In that moment, they sealed the pact not with words, but with a renewed connection, the kind that came from recognizing faults, but also aspirations, the shared pressure that bound them. Soon afterward, they began to share tales about dreams deeply rooted Martha's old hopes of embarking on international travel, Emily's desire to illustrate children's books, and Jake's hidden aspiration to start a podcast sharing young entrepreneurs' stories. Unbeknownst to them, each dream reinvigorated shared laughter, nudging their way into the budding space of openness. As the sun dipped below the horizon, illuminating their smiles, Martha couldn't shake the sensation of wholeness that enveloped her. The vulnerability they had braved laid brick after brick toward a new foundation, rekindling connection within their family. They would face inevitable disputes and misunderstandings again, but they had just begun to cultivate a toolkit of trust and openness. As she reflected on their transformative evening, a deeper understanding settled in her thoughts. This journey was not solely hers or theirs, but a continuous exploration of growth and healing together. And with that, Martha found herself not only a mother but a companion in their unfolding stories, sharing laughter, dreams, and an encouraging air filled with promise. And with a bright smile, she added, "Okay then, who wants to plan the next dinner together? I think we could start on our dreams night right now." They all laughed, the burdens of yesterday lifting invisibly into the ether as they gestured toward a brighter tomorrow. This was the beginning of their new story, one of determination, connection, and deeply rewarding transformation. Now, are you ready to embark on your own journey of transformation? You need to subscribe now to the channel, so you won't miss the next exclusive emotional stories that inspire you to embrace your growth. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm, trust me, it makes a difference. And comment your reactions and theories about this ending. Sharing is empowering. Don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Together, we can transform lives.